Okay, welcome to a new episode of Trip Tease. I'm Lia Vincent, and today we are going to talk about the Olympics. The Olympics just ended this week, and I was there in Paris, and I want to tell you all about it. I'm going to go ahead and say, spoiler alert, I loved it. And let me kind of just give you a little bit of a backstory on why we went, or kind of maybe slash how we went. We had this big trip planned to go to Norway on a cruise. And as I was looking for air, American Airlines had 50,000-mile round trip into Paris out of London. That's where our cruise was leaving, is London. So I was like, hey, we're going to be there anyways. Let's just go ahead and go. Everybody kind of was like, I can't believe you're going to go. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I was like, the Olympics are every 2 years. But let me just say that I am now a huge Olympic fan. I was an Olympic fan before, but now I feel like I've really more invested in it. I would love to go to Milan in 2 years and then Los Angeles in 4 years. We flew on a Thursday, the first week of the Olympics. So we did miss opening ceremonies. That would be really amazing to see. But we flew on Thursday. We landed on a Friday morning. Our very first day, we just decided to go explore. The hotel that we found, it was in the opera area. It was a good location. We could walk. We walked to the Louvre the very first day. Right across the street from the Louvre, they had this amazing little courtyard area, and it was kind of blocked off, and it had all these games going on. And I was like, I wonder if that's like a private event, or if there's a cost or whatever. So we just walked over there, and they were just checking bags to make sure you didn't have any weapons. But you could just walk in. Everything was free. They had badminton, ping pong. They had this little sharpshooter game, and we kind of were joking because that guy from Turkey had just won the silver medal that all the memes were all about. There was a lot of friendly heckling. The USA had just finished a match in the soccer or football, so some of the players there were doing a little bit of heckling. Not players, I guess, just fans. We're doing a little bit of heckling my kids because they had some soccer shirts on, but it was all in very good fun. And then between the two buildings, there was this big screen set up, and people had their lawn chairs, and they were selling beer and making little sandwiches and just watching the Olympics. It was Taekwondo was that evening, and France was, in the match. So everybody was really into it and cheering. It really kind of like in the movies, how I pictured, a home country watching the Olympics is just sitting outside together, the camaraderie. They were very welcoming of us to be there as well. So, kudos, France. I'm so impressed. That was one thing I felt like the media did Paris dirty on, was talking about how the city's not ready. It's going to be overcrowded. The Seine is going to be too dirty. And I think they did end up deciding that the Seine was too dirty, and I didn't do the triathlon swimming in the Seine. I didn't keep following that whole dirty water Seine. I mean, I felt like it was like, isn't it always dirty? I mean, who would ever swim in the Seine? But I was so impressed with the city of Paris. That was probably my fifth time to Paris, so I didn't go thinking I want to do the touristy things at all. So it was definitely a different mentality for me than if you were going to do a city, both tourism and Olympics. So maybe recommend, if you're going to the Olympics, pick a year that you've already maybe been to that city. So you're not feeling like, oh, I have to do XYZ while I'm there, as well as. But I will say that one big perk is, in this day that I'm talking about, on this Friday, we walked across the street to the Louvre. The kids said, oh, I want to go see the Mona Lisa. I guess there's like a Spy Kids episode or movie where they steal the Mona Lisa. I was like, there's no way. We didn't buy tickets. You have to buy them in advance. You have to get the skip the line tickets and all of that. Nope. We just walked in, and there's kiosks where you can buy the ticket. We didn't even have one person in front of us in line, and there was lots of open kiosks. One thing that's really neat about the Louvre is kids under 18 are complimentary. So it was like 22 euros per adult. And then kids were free. We walked around. We saw the kind of the big highlights. I'm not a big museum person, so I was fine not spending hours and hours there. But we went and did the highlights of the Louvre. And the kids, of course, got to see the Mona Lisa. So that was really neat. I had never been there before. So I was not expecting to do any touristy things, but it was a really good opportunity. The next day, so on Saturday, we had two things that we had planned. One was the gymnastics finals. And of course, this is not a spoiler alert at all. Team USA won the gold medal. I had tickets to the individual finals. So it was men's pommel horse, men's floor, and then the women's vault. I'm a big women's gymnastics fan ever since the Atlanta Olympics when Carrie broke her foot and then just had to land that vault. So the fact that I was able to get vault tickets made my whole like childhood dreams come true. I only was able to get two. So I had to just take me and I had to pick one child to go. I'm like telling them all about it. I want one of them to really want to go. None of them care. They're boys and they've never been to the Olympics. And I'm telling them, and I bring up the TikTok videos that, you can watch Carrie land it. And I'm like getting teary eyed telling them about it. And they're like, can you leave our room? We're going to all play Roblox now. So, okay. So when I go to the gymnastics finals, I took my youngest. He's the one that actually ended up saying, yes, he would go. He actually gave me a rule. He said, I'll go and I'll have a good attitude if you don't make me eat anything I don't like in France. Not just at gymnastics, in France. I'm that kind of parent where I'm always trying to get them to try something new. I'm like, try something new. You might like it. You might like it. We're traveling. Be flexible. And honestly, in France, they don't even like do children's menus. They're like, kids just eat, regular foods. I said, fine, whatever. I'll agree to whatever. I just want somebody to want to go with me. That was another reason I chose gymnastics, not just because I love gymnastics, but not all of the events are in Paris proper. So some of them, were a couple of hours away, like basketball or soccer. So it's not something that you could just easily do, especially when we were just there for a long weekend. I mean, goodness, surfing it was in French Polynesia, so Tahiti. So you have to really pay attention. That's what it's going to be like for Los Angeles. They announced that Oklahoma City, which is crazy, that's where I live, is going to be hosting some of the river sports and softball. So if you're going, to Los Angeles to the Olympics and you want to see softball, well, you actually need to book your ticket to Oklahoma City. So anyways, we could talk about that in 2028. But so we arrived at the gymnastics. We were able to easily take a cab. One thing with the way Paris was, it didn't feel crowded when you're right in central Paris, especially because of the traffic. They had a red zone area where you had to have a special permit in order to drive through there. So it felt like it was less crowded than when I've gone in the past. So, I mean, I thought that was a really good, really cool idea. But sometimes if you were like right in the red zone and you want to get an Uber or a cab, you had to walk, to the outskirts. So it was like a plus and minus. But once we got that figured out, then it was no big deal. I had really good seats. I was really excited about them. I actually just scored the tickets a couple of weeks before we went. We're sitting on the lower level. We have great seats. The very first event was the men's floor. And it was actually really awesome to see the Philippines win the gold. I mean, all of the athletes did a really good job, but the Philippines had never won gold like that before, ever. So it was like really emotional for them. The stadium was like, I would guess 60 to 70% USA fans. I mean, because we're all there so excited to watch Simone and then Steven on the pommel horse. They were calling him Clark Kent. That was the event where we'd be able to see both of them. But there wasn't like a whole bunch of people from the Philippines to support their athletes. So I thought that was really really special. So then the next event was the women's vault. Simone won gold. So that was really, really exciting. She did an amazing job. She actually fell when she was doing her practice vaults. And I was like, no. I mean, I was like, this is my dream. Funny story. I was telling Miles, that's my youngest that went with me. I said, hey, Miles, if Simone wins gold and like they play the national anthem, I might start crying. And he goes, why have you not heard it before? It was so ridiculous. I was like, yes, I've heard it before. I held it together. Simone won the gold. It was really like just a core memory. Like I have this video where we're all like have our hands on our heart. And I look over and there's my son with his hand on his heart and they're playing the national anthem and she's got her gold medal. And I was just like, this is so awesome. I highly recommend, especially if you have a specific sport, you need to do this. So our other thing that we had planned for that day was the Team USA house. I made a video about this on TikTok and people kind of reamed me a little bit saying that it was too expensive, that it's not the first time they've had it. But this is, I mean, according to my research and what everybody's saying, this is the first time it's just been open to the public. And when I say open to the public, I don't mean like it's just free and open to the public like the public library, but like open to the public like Disney World is. I mean, you can buy a ticket. Anyone can go. It's open to the public. So you buy a ticket. They're 325 euros per person. I think there's like a VAT tax as well. And that is good for the whole day. It opened at noon and was open until midnight. And as much as I loved the gymnastics, I would say I equally, and it's kind of hard, it's kind of like picking my favorite children, loved going to the Team USA house almost as much or maybe the same or maybe more. I mean, each moment was probably a different feeling. The Team USA house, we went there when we first, when we first could, right at noon. All the food and drinks are all included. They changed out the food all throughout the day. They also had a lot of interactive games. So you would like have this big screen where you could push the state and it would talk about what athletes are from that state and a little bio about them. The kids thought that was pretty cool. See who's from Oklahoma, who's from Texas, things like that. And then they also had the torch that the USA athletes passed when they did how they moved the torch. But okay, let me tell you what I loved about the Team USA house. They had tables and chairs and they had these huge screens and they had a stage. They were playing all the U.S. athletes. When I got back, they were doing the swimming. We got to see Katie Ledecky win the gold medal. You had this camaraderie because it's like you're with all the other people from America and you're in France. So it was exciting to be like, oh, where are you from? Oh, that's so exciting, and that kind of thing. But then when America won the gold medal, they put this alarm off and it went like, woo, and everybody's like standing up and screaming. It was like, these are the moments, that I'm using my hands in quotes, but these are the moments that you're like, this is such a core memory. Like, that was so awesome. And actually at that moment when Katie won, the gold medal winning U.S. rowing team was on stage doing like an introduction, and then Katie won and they're jumping up and down and cheering for her with their gold medals on. I mean, of course I'm always proud to be an American, but it was just like this moment where we're all coming together and so excited, and like being part of Team USA was pretty like that moment was pretty infamous, or not infamous, famous in my brain. And as the night went on, more and more athletes would show up. So they all wore different lanyards, and some of the lanyards would say like Olympian, or and they would have a name tag and would say their name and what sport they played. So you could tell if they were like a former Olympian or a current Olympian. I did this little thing with my kids because I really wanted them to be more forward about asking people to take pictures with them. So I was like, hey, I'll give you $1 for every former Olympian you take a picture with, and $2 for every current Olympian you take a picture with. But it worked like a charm. They were like more excited about, like, sometimes they'd be like, oh, another picture. But they were like, oh yeah, there's an Olympian. Let's go take a picture. So they met so many different Olympians. One of them let them hold their gold medal. I mean, that kind of thing. They were so apathetic about going to the Olympics. I mean, they're 8, 9, and 11, so they didn't really have like a concept of the Olympics. I mean, when I would have watched Summer Olympics with them 4 years ago, I mean, they don't remember. So that now, when we talk about them, like, isn't it cool that we went to the Olympics? They're like, yeah, it was really cool. So that went on until midnight. Everyone kept saying, I wish you would meet Snoop Dogg. We can't wait to see the picture of Lia and Snoop Dogg. And I never met him, but he was at Team USA house just like 2 nights later. And one of my friends sent me a video and I was like, no, that would have been so amazing. And it was so expensive. I know it was so expensive, but I would say that if I had to pick between going to like one sport and buying tickets to one sport or going to the Team USA house for the whole day, I would pick the Team USA house. And that, I mean, I think that says a lot. It was that kind of like warm fuzzies that I had for, hours and hours. The other event that we went to, so I was going to tell you about that, what is it called? The qualifiers. So I'm not a track and field person, but we saw the hurdles and we saw the 200 meter and the 800 meter, and there was a 3,000 meter steeplechase. When I was like, oh my goodness, these women are just running and running and running and running. They ran through water, they ran their hurdle. It was exhausting to watch them. I'm not a runner, obviously, but that is one of the more inexpensive events you can go to. So if you're going to go to a finals, I mean, I would say the same thing. If you're going to the NBA, of course, if you're going to the NBA finals or going to the playoffs, or if you're going to a preseason game. So think of it as a preseason game, like you're going to the NBA. That's my kind of normal sport of choice. So that's what I'm going to relate it to. But we had tickets. We were only on like 5 or 6 rows from the field. And the tickets were about $150 a person. So I thought that was pretty reasonable. It was 3 or 4 hours. Luckily, I picked the right side, so we were in the shade. The kids really enjoyed that because there was so much to watch. The one that they really enjoyed was the long jump. It was impressive. I wanted to talk to you about a few of the key takeaways from this. I think there's a lot of misconception when you're talking about going to the Olympics. One thing that I think is the biggest hurdle when you're going to the Olympics, and this is, to keep in mind for individuals, or if you're a travel agent listening to me about how to book this, you need to book the accommodations as far in advance as possible. A lot of the other stuff will fall in line if you're wanting to kind of piece this together. I pieced it together and booked the tickets separate from the hotel and the air and all of that kind of stuff. I'm, obviously a well-traveled individual, so I was fine with kind of winging it and going and doing my own thing, and I didn't need my handheld. For agents or for individuals, keep in mind, there are packaged sports companies. You do pay a premium for it, but it's also more of a premium experience. So you would be taken to the games, have somebody waiting outside. I did see a lot of those people when we were leaving the sporting events. They're shuttling them into a bus. If you're wanting to do this, the accommodations is something that is, I think, the most difficult. The whole world is coming to the Olympics. And when you're ready to plan your next big sporting event, whether it's the Olympics or you want to go to any of the big things that are all around the world, Vincent Vacations would love to help you. So you can follow us, Vincent Vacations, on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I appreciate you listening. Thanks for watching.